Just a quick update on the 750 build, just so you know what's going on, where I'm up to. A few things that I've done. The resets are getting custom made. That's the beginning of them at the moment. You may have seen them in a few of the other videos, but they're a work in progress. Just got to figure out how the master cylinder is going to work in relation to the lever, and just try and figure out a position, maybe bring it down further this way. I'll put a spacer in here so that it lines up with this here, this actual rod at the back. On the other side, these are just markings in the actual machining. That's not actually in the pattern or anything, so in case you're wondering. Yeah, so obviously the gear shifter, this is not going to be the piece. This is just sitting in there at the moment. It's actually just a borrowed piece, but the gear shifter obviously has to be lined up somehow with a few linkages, and they've been put on hold just at the moment. We just wanted to get that positioning and then we'll finish them off later. So I've been hunting around for a set of exhausts, a 4-into-1. They make them for the older models, but just not for this. So I thought, and I finally found a company that does them. It's going to be me just taking the headers basically just straight off here and then up, and then I'm going to do something custom at the end. Another change is I wanted to get a master cylinder. I don't know if I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but in order to buy a master cylinder was so damn expensive, it worked out to be cheaper for me to buy a whole second-hand set of this, the lines that include the actual calipers themselves. So I got all these second-hand, and it came with this cool lever, which actually matches. I don't know if I'm going to use that, but it's kind of cool. And another thing, in one of my last videos, recent videos, I put some tape over this and just, as you can see, made a bit of a line. Just something I was playing with, and a different idea for a headlight. This is an eBay special. It's absolute rubbish. Like, I'm telling you, they look really cool, but if you want a quality light, don't buy them. They're absolutely crap. It is now time for the teardown. I am going to start with the handlebars. I'm going to take these big guys off and install those ones. So now that I've got it to this stage, I thought I'd mention what I'm up to. So I'm going to drop that front wheel off, take it out. I'm going to take the forks off. I'm going to clean the forks up, tidy them up, give them a fresh coat of paint. I'm going to do the same with the top triple clamp, take the ignition barrel off, and I'm going to put this in my blast cabinet and just sandblast it just lightly, just to get rid of all that rubbish paint and just give it a coat of paint. Like I said, same thing with the tubes. This section here is going to be covered with a gator. However, I'm still going to clean it up and stop any rust continuing. The forks are in okay condition, as in they work. So I'm not going to rebuild them completely. I just think that's not going to go with the $1,200 build if I have to buy oil and everything to go with that. I've just got to be really mindful of how much I do spend, because it will add up quite fast. If I go and buy fork fluid, then it's another thing that I have to do later. And if I don't necessarily need it right now, then I won't do it. So this is the top triple clamp after hitting it with a bit of sandblast. I started to record this process inside the cabinet, but it just gets so dusty and you really can't see anything, so it's not worth it. But I did record the very beginning, as you'll see now, and it really does a really good job, and it's quite fast. So that paint that was on it wasn't obviously very thick, just purely because it came off quite easy with the sandblast. So yeah, I'll just give it another coat of paint and should be good to go. So I managed to fit the fork tube in there as well, and as you can see, I hit it with the sandblasting and it just does a magic job. So I'm going to continue that over the entire forks and also give those some paint so they're ready to go. Definitely don't want to get any of the sandblasting media in the actual bearing itself. So what I'll do is this rubber boot here, I'll use a good quality tape and just run that tape on that edge there all the way around, and then I'll just continue it around the entire stem, because I don't need to blast any of the stem. I just want to get all the rust paint off this if I can. Man, I hate it when I drop things. Just another thing that I decided to do was take this off the actual handlebars, the crossbar, and I'm going to throw this in the sandblasting cabinet, and I'm going to take off the coating off that just so that I can put a coating of primer and paint it black, just the same as the handlebars. There's no need for it to be silver, it just stands out too much. So this is what they look like after you take them out of the sandblasting cabinet. This is aluminium, same with this, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use this. However, I've just etched it, so I'm going to throw a bit of black paint on it, put it on, and I'll obviously put a little bit of masking tape on the inside there because I don't need to have any paint going on the inside of those. And that's pretty much it. These bolts here are just the rotor bolts. I've done the bolt head and the nut just because they were pretty badly rusted, so, and I thought may as well. It's not going to hurt, only takes a couple of seconds in that blast cabinet to do something like that. With the front wheel, I do want to give it a bit of a clean up and obviously sand it and paint it. I'm not going to replace the bearings because there's nothing wrong with them as far as I know. So yeah, I'm just going to leave those bearings in there as is, but I do want to clean it, and I don't really want any degreaser or anything getting inside there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a big bolt with a couple of washers and just throw it in there I don't know, on one of my videos, I think it was the powder coating the wheel video, I actually did the same thing, and that's why these are actually black, because that's powder coat from the last time I used them. It's a really cool, easy way to do it, to stop anything getting in there when you're painting, cleaning, sanding, or even degreasing, whatever. So, yeah. Probably going to paint these completely black. However, I'm going to freshen up these edges here, these flat line edges. I've started on one of these ones here with some sandpaper, but I found a faster way with an orbital sander. So what I'm going to do is just go over it. It's all fairly flat, that surface, so I'm just going to go over it, and that'll not just clean it up but also help the paint to stick to it. And the rest of it I'm obviously going to sand by hand to get in all these little gaps and stuff, and then paint them with a fairly hardcore black paint so that they don't chip as best as I possibly can. Once again, this is a budget, it's a budget build, so I just need to be mindful of anything that I spend money on, and so far this is basically going to cost me a can of paint, and that's it to get this done. I'm just using a 240 grit sandpaper for this application. You can go a lot finer if you want, but I think that's going to be enough for what I need. I'll have a look later after I've finished and see how it looks. So now what I'm going to do is go over it with some of this. This is pretty much the roughest one you can get out of this. It's like a synthetic, what's called synthetic steel wool. It's really good stuff, and it can curve to whatever shape you have, and just go along and start sanding, getting rid of any extra bits that are still there that the gurney didn't get. So I'm going to go over it with that one, and then start priming and start painting. I'm not going to video this entire process. It's going to be extremely boring to watch, so I'll show you at the end what it looks like when it's finished. To speed things up a little bit, I decided to use this little guy on the end of my drill, and also this. So what I'm doing is I've gone along here like this on the side edge, just up this lip here to get rid of all that flaky paint, and then just this one just around the tight edges, and it's really sped things up quite a bit. So I'll just once again go over it with this just to finish off, but yeah, why waste your time doing it by hand if you don't have to. I was just thinking to myself, man, I'm spending a lot of time trying to sand this, and why, when I have a sandblasting cabinet? The only thing is, I don't think it's going to fit in there. It's definitely not going to go in the side door. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to take the screws out, take the glass out, I'll replace the film on the inside because it's super dirty at the moment, and then try and lower that tyre and wheel in. I could take the tyre off, however I don't have the new ones. I don't really want to take the tyres off because then when I do put it back on the bike, I won't be able to move the bike. So the bike is right in the middle of the garage at the moment, and if I take the tyres off, then I'll have to put these old ones back on again. It's not something I feel like doing, so I'll see if I can lower it down. I'm not going to have a hell of a lot of room to move in there, but it might just give me that little bit better finish than sandblasting. If I can get that wheel prepped a little bit better than I can by hand, then the paint will turn out a lot better. So let's give it a go. I might let the air out and see if that helps. It sucks, but I tried. After being defeated by not being able to get this inside my sandblasting cabinet, I decided to take the tyre off, and yeah, I just don't want to be defeated, so I want to try and get this in there and sandblast. It's going to be a lot easier than me just rubbing back constantly on both sides It is completely doable if you don't have a sandblasting cabinet. I totally understand, and what I was doing is perfectly fine. That surface now is perfectly fine to be painted. It didn't take that long, but I do have a sandblasting cabinet, so why not use it? Yeah, I just thought I'd put some music in the background now because I don't really want to be swearing on my channel, and this may cause me to swear a few times. Man, I think I was dreaming if I thought this wheel was going to fit in this box with a tyre on it. I gave it a go. When I finally got the tyre off, I had put this inside the actual sandblasting cabinet and started sandblasting, and then realised I had forgotten to put that washer and bolt through there to protect this. So I'm pretty sure that's unsavable. I don't think that's a sealed unit, and I don't know if I want to reuse those bearings now, so I'll just have a look and see how much a new set of bearings are for this. But I can't imagine them being too expensive, so it's just one thing that it happens. There's no point worrying about it, just got to fix it.